Welcome everyone to our first episode of One to One Space, where we talk all things architecture and interior design. My name is Mitch, and I am joined today by Justine, marketing specialist, and president and CEO of One Space Unlimited Inc., Rod Rowbotham. Hi, Rod. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. This is very exciting that we're doing this for the first time, and we're very happy to have you. Thanks for being here.
It really is.
Well, we've got some questions for you, if that's okay.
Okay. I'll tell you what I know.
Okay. Justine, would you like to
And
start
I'll
with
lie
some
if
questions?
I have to.
You know what? Lie just to sound good. I think that's the way to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So I'm really excited about this podcast because we really get to dive into One Space and what it's all about and how it started and how it really is a product of you and how you started out and now how you direct the design team. So I want to know how did you start out in your career of being an architect and then also diving into the realm of interior design?
Well, most architects and or interior designers start out as kids who like to draw. And we draw a lot of things sitting in front of the TV for hours on end. And you do that when you're very young, and your parents kind of notice that you like to draw a lot. So when high school came around for me, I instantly gravitated to a lot of the architectural drafting courses. And there you learn technical drawing. So not so much freestyle or freehand kind of thing, but you're drawing technically with proper drafting tools. And in those days, it was all drawn by hand. And that started in grade 9, went right through till grade 11 for me, and I think maybe even grade 12. But what was really interesting for me was that you're crafting something with your hands. It's a lot like being a woodworker, except that you're drawing something with such precision and accuracy, and there's a great deal of satisfaction in that at all times for me when I was growing up. So ultimately, the choice came down to, well, your final year of high school is here. And what are you going to choose to do for the rest of your life? And I was split almost 50-50 right down the line after speaking to my guidance counselor at the time. You're either going to be an architect or you're going to be a musician. And I thought, well, my father said to me, one you might make a living at, and the other one might make a good hobby, and you decide which one I'm talking about.
Right.
So
Yeah, totally.
I decided that I was going to do the pursuit of architecture. So I applied to Ryerson University here in Toronto, went there for 4 years. Very satisfying education there, but it didn't leave me with an opportunity to become licensed with the province of Ontario. So I went to the University of Michigan and got a master's degree there after 2 years. And that's the education part of it. And then after that, you need to work in a firm and you need to apprentice and you need to fill out a log book to register or record all of your hours with the professional association. And then at some point, when all of that's said and done, you can then apply to be a member. And I think the entire process started in 1982 formally at Ryerson. And it wasn't until 1996 that I was fully licensed as an architect. So it's a long trip. It's a long trip.
For sure, for sure. And then so you went to Michigan and then you came back to Toronto.
Yep.
Fully licensed, ready to go. And so what happened next? So how did you get into your first firm? How was that experience?
Using a music term, what was your first gig?
Yeah.
Well, my first professional architectural gig, it was a rough crowd. It was with Page and Steel Architects back in those days, and I don't think I was actually there as a summer student in 1985 between my two programs, I believe it was. And at some point, they treated me very well there. It was a great learning experience. And when I graduated, they called me and said, and back in those days, it was so busy in the industry. They said, I think I was just in the middle of finishing all of my last assignments at Michigan, and they phoned me at the house there in Ann Arbor and said, uh, "Can you come now?"
Yeah, we kind of need you.
Yeah, and there was, I don't know, 125 people on staff at the time, and they were just booming.
Yeah.
So I didn't take any time off from Michigan to starting that new job. I started there, really enjoyed it, met a lot of great people,
Yeah.
and worked there for 11 years. And in 1997, I got an opportunity to go out on my own, and a little scary at first, just me by myself. So I was the designer, and I was the accountant, and I was the sales guy all at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
Worked probably 6 to 7 days a week for 2 years straight. It was very intensive. But you learn very quickly. At the same time, you've got to be very polished to I think handle all aspects of an architectural practice, and you learn that very, very quickly, especially the sales aspects.
Yes.
And how to treat clients and how to talk to them.
Yes.
And then in 2000, a friend of mine called me and said, there's a company I'm working for, and the partners here want to retire. Do you want to participate, or can you give me a reference to somebody who might want to help me buy them out? And I said, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I mean, I had so much stuff in the lineup in terms of projects that I couldn't do it by myself, and it was a really daunting task, and I suppose rewarding because you're busy, but not rewarding because you get no time off.
For sure.
Yeah, so that started a process to buy out what was known at the time as Atkins Architect.
Yeah.
And in 2000, that purchase was made. And around 2007, we were sitting there very happy doing our thing, and I got a phone call from England. And it was a company called W.S. Atkins. And they said, and they're a very large firm. And they said, we're coming to Canada and we'd like to use our name.
Oh,
and
fun.
I said, well, we're kind of using it.
Using it.
Yeah.
But it led me to conclude that maybe it's an opportunity to leave that name behind and create something new and something unique that didn't have a surname attached to it.
Right.
And the professional association here in Ontario began to open up opportunities for architects to name their firms using non-traditional surnames. Okay, so I was at home one Sunday morning, it was snowing, and I said, okay, what is this company? Like, what is this? Well, we have architects and we have interior designers and we work in one space. And I went, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
As crazy as that story sounds, it was the beginning of the idea behind One Space.
Yeah.
As we developed the logo, you look at the logo and it's two things coming together, two half circles coming together with the word space in there. And it kind of embodies the purpose of the company. Architects, designers, One Space. Or it could be more multivalent and more meaningful in that it's architect, client, project team, city. Always around the two things being focused on a single purpose.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a history of everything from 1982 to 2007 in about 5 minutes. That's where it all came from. That's where it started from.
Well, from a marketing standpoint, it's really smart because you end up with one product.
Yes.
And you're essentially unifying all of the aspects that go into that product that you're making, which is, a building. So it's really smart, and you're able to do so many things with that logo and
well, especially nowadays too. I find that my first impression of One Space was that, like you said, it opened up an opportunity to make a little bit more non-traditional names for things. Because if to let's just say to a kid, to like a 10-year-old kid that does or doesn't want to be an architect when he grows up. He probably thinks the architect office is a stuffy place where it's all stuffy dudes with big mustaches, drawing up skyscrapers and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
And so when you got a name like onespace, where you got multiple things coming together, and it's very approachable in my opinion.
And insinuates
really
a family also.
It does.
I think that the company also has a sense of that feel, whereas all the employees are quite connected. They all work together.
Yeah.
It's a very open concept there. So really smart.
Yeah, it is. We've had a lot of compliments on the name. Everyone finds it very interesting. They always ask me, "What, are you going to evolve to two space?" No.
Yeah,
and we're not going to go back to zero space either. So it's always got some interest. People always ask what it means. And what's great about it, I think, is that it gives an opportunity to break away from the more traditional structures, Mitch, as you were saying, that occur in most professional services firm, whether it's law, architecture, interior design, or accounting. There tends to be a very traditional way of naming those companies and how they're perceived. And I'm always looking for a new way to do things. And I'm always looking, I tell staff here all the time, I'm constantly pursuing the better onespace.
Yeah.
So we never really sit still, we never rest, and we're always pursuing better business practices and better tools for design, and better technology. That's a constant growth opportunity for us.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I love the phrase, one team, one vision, one space, that you often use in marketing. I think that's really smart too, because it just embodies all those ideologies that onespace has and brings to the table in terms of, client perspective.
Well, there's a story behind that too, because when I was on my own for that couple of years, typically you'd get retained as the architect for a project, and then the client would also retain a separate interior design company.
Yes.
And, the architect is there early, very early, because we get involved in the conceptual design stages of a project quite considerably in advance of when others can join the team. So here we are designing a project, my first big tower, 24 stories, I think it was. And I had a certain vision for the exterior. The interior designer on the project had a very different vision of the interior, and the two were jarringly different.
Right.
And it always bothered me that brothers and sisters in design can't seem to get a unified expression in a project. And I was thinking about it as the condo user goes, and this was a fairly expensive condominium building. So here these people back then were paying a lot of money for these units, and they're walking from an outside that was somewhat contemporary in nature to the inside, which looked like the inside of a traditional law firm.
Right.
And the elevator was
and
the elevator was heavily appointed with oak paneling and a lot of traditional detailing. And I got in it, and I just went, I don't get it.
I don't like that.
Smelled of rich tobacco and whiskey.
Yeah. So what we try to do now is our interior designers and architects start working on early stuff together. Like we're talking site planning.
Yeah.
Where you're just locating a building, but our interior designers are so used to the architectural world that they'll actually start to work on the big site plans, elevations for buildings, and then when it comes to the interior design, that's when they get to have a lot of fun, because it's second nature.
Yeah.
But in any of our hotel designs, and particularly in any of our condominium buildings, we always have a unified concept that runs through. So if you're looking at the outside of the building, it's got a lot of motion to it. The conversations occur internally here in the studio, so the interior is reminding you of what you saw outside in a different way, and maybe more tactile with different materials and colors, but there's a constant subconscious message that's being made the entire time as a user goes.
And I think we have a blog on that too. You just want the outside to be cohesive with the inside, because the building itself, if you think about it as a personality,
Yep.
you want the user or the person who's going to be living in the building or just visiting or something to feel the same way subconsciously every time that they enter the building from the outside. So I think it's super important that both designers are working as a team in that aspect, because it is super jarring if you walk into I don't know, a building downtown and you walk in and it's like a cabin inside. It just doesn't make any sense. And
Unless that's exactly what you're going for.
well,
But,
unless you,
you know.
but I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's ways to continue a theme from an exterior to an interior, sometimes with contrast. But for the most part, I think that when you create something that people experience in time, and that's what happens with architecture and interior design, you experience a building in time. You walk
Yeah.
up to it, it takes time. You're visually looking at it, it takes time. You're absorbing it as you go. So that exterior experience now to the interior is occurring over the same period of time, and it needs to feel right. It's an awful lot. I think of it like the way Apple products are made.
yeah.
There's a consistency and a craftsmanship to it, but then they take that same approach and they apply it to the product, the packaging.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you know when you pick it up that inside this box is a finely crafted
Right.
product, and I
Right.
kind of think that our goal is to have you feel the same when you approach a building. You're going to approach saying, I'm about to experience something that's crafted and harmonious in its.
Yeah. That's a
It's
really good way of
feeling.
looking at it. I actually really like that.
Yeah. Sticking
too.
with yeah, exactly.
Well, that's good.
There you go. Yeah, it's good that you like the way that your company looks at it. Yeah. Sticking with onespace, would you say, like, does onespace have a calling card or something that you guys take pride in specializing in, or something that you guys are kind of known for? Is there anything in particular, or is it kind of you're like being that all around firm?
Yeah, there's no question that the design industry does have specialization within it. And I think that if I had to pinpoint our specialization, I would say that about 60 to 70% of our projects are multifamily residential buildings. Now, whether they're condominium or rental, doesn't matter. And then it's also a combination in there of hotels. We do a lot of hotels with Hyatt out of Chicago. And we've done, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe 6 of those in the last couple of years, and other brands as well. But I would say the majority of it is there in those two areas. So on the multifamily residential side, that includes a fairly large group. So it's townhouses, it's mid-rise buildings that are 6 to 8 stories, maybe 12, and then it's high-rise buildings. And they're either for the regular, I guess, the general marketplace, or they're for seniors, or they're condo for purchase, or they're rental. Cool. And I've been doing that almost exclusively my whole career since the 80s, is the residential stuff.
Well, it's very cool. I'm glad that you use the word family. It like how it's like family. I feel bad for not knowing exactly what you just said, but like family like residences and places where people live and spend time together and all that stuff. Because when I see one,
residential instead of commercial.
that's what I meant. Yeah. Residential instead of commercial. There we go. Thank you. This is why you brought me on here,
We
because
do
you guys
commercial, too.
talk architecture all the time. You know the lingo, and I'm just the guy like, so what does onespace mean? But anyway,
It's good perspective.
exactly. But I like that you use the word family and residential, because these are places where people spend time together and all that stuff. And like when I see onespace, you guys are very family. You kind of mentioned it a bit. You're very family oriented. Rod, your family is involved in the company as well and all that stuff. And it's it truly is a family business. And I think that that's probably why you guys do that so well, because it's kind of your mentality going in. Would I be on the right track there?
Yeah, I think so. It's a key part of it. I mean, certainly when we're designing a residential building, Yes, there is the relationship between the architecture and the street, or the architecture and the context of the existing neighborhood. That's important to us, but I'll tell you what I take away more when a project's built is sometimes, yes, how well it fits within the community. But I start to dive inside and I go, this is great. There's 200 people living in here, and they're all going to create memories in a space that we created for them. The memories of where you grow up as a child, and what you do later on when you buy your own first home, the birthday parties, the celebrations at holiday time, and all of that occurs inside the four walls of any home. So I always look beyond the envelope and wonder, driving by the building, after it's built for 10 or 15 years, I wonder what memories are being built in there, because will it be sustainable for them? Will they remember? I remember the lobby of that building when I was growing up as a kid, and how it made me feel, and the smell of the street outside, that kind of thing. As things go for us internally here, we are similar to what a family environment would be like, I think, in most people's definitions. We take what we do very seriously, but we do not take ourselves seriously. I don't take
shouldn't.
myself seriously either. Most architects are often known for taking themselves a little too seriously, I think, and I certainly had enough experience at school and now later as a professional to tell you that there's evidence of that. But we dip into the humor pool on a general and daily basis around here. I find that humor is so important in areas of stress, in areas where there's a lot of money at stake. I mean, the budgets for these buildings are very high, and somebody has put that into our hands. Do we take it seriously? Yes. But do I like to have fun with our clients and let them know we're human? Yeah. That is what makes a team. Clients and consultants working together for probably 5-7 years on some large projects. It's what makes it human, and lets them feel, yes, you're listening to my business needs, but also lets them feel as though they can be themselves. And that's really important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it comes across, which is
Just
great.
it just adds personality to the firm, and if everybody's on the same playing field, like some of these huge firms, you could have multiple different personalities in there. Firms with a lot of employees, maybe not as joined together as one space, but we're a relatively small firm.
As one space.
It's a relatively...
It's catching on.
Yeah. It's a relatively small firm, so I think we really feel the effects of that, as in, we know about the employees and what's going on in their lives, and it just helps work together, I think, because if you can reach that person on a different level than just a coworker, I think your product can be a lot more special.
It becomes genuine.
That's right, yeah.
And people that work here are genuine. I think they're all very unique. Nobody pretends to be anything. There's no one that's pretentious. There's no one that's, trying to sabotage their colleagues. I've seen that happen in some firms.
Yeah.
But it's a very welcoming place, and I'm humbled to be the president of such a good group of people, because you don't get that everywhere, and you don't get the long-term employment base like we've had. We've got employees here that have been here longer than I have, because they were part of the original company that was purchased. So that's meaningful, and I think when you can say that, look, we've got people that have been with the company for 25 years and they're happy and they come to work every day and they're themselves. I mean, I don't know what better you can get for yourself when you think about it.
Oh, for sure.
Totally.
For sure. So maybe last question, because
I got a fun one for the end.
okay, you save that.
Oh, good.
I'm saving it. Oh, good. Finally, a fun one.
You save that.
Yeah.
But we're nearing the end of episode number 1. So exciting. But what is the goal for the company? What is your overall vision going forward for OneSpace and the team?
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
On a beach without a mask on
Yeah,
That'd be nice.
that'd be great.
and vaccinated.
Yeah.
I would say that the vision for the company is to continue to expand on its horizons, to gain more and more opportunity to work with very interesting clients, large projects, small projects, it doesn't matter. We're looking to do business with people that are like-minded, in that they are genuine as well as we are, that they like to have a sense of humor, that they don't take themselves too seriously. We're looking for those clients out there that really would find that comfortable and welcoming to them, especially when they're building something worth $85 million, you know.
Yeah.
And we like to be recognized for our work. We have in the past won, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 design awards from various associations. It's nice to be recognized. It's nice to be known in the industry. And well, I'll tell you what my own personal thing is the architecture side of me is very happy, very content to be creative, but from a business ownership side of me, I'm very energized by coming up with new ways to introduce best business practices. So we're very business minded here, and we like the clients to know that. We have 2 good ears each.
Yeah.
We listen to what they need us to do, and we put ourselves in the position of the developer. So I think that the best part of that is that they feel at ease to speak a language that we understand. What happens with a lot of architects that I've heard directly from clients is they take what we need, they run off and they do something fantastic. It's very expensive. We can't really build it, and it didn't really get my return on investment. In the condo business, that is critical. You don't
Right.
build a building for fun. You build it for a return on investment.
Oh yeah.
And if the mathematics isn't there, you don't do it. So the long-term vision is to attract like-minded people, but to continue to build OneSpace as a prominent and successful business. And to do that, I made it a very early decision to say that OneSpace is a business that offers architecture and interior design services.
Yeah.
What that did was it allows us to break away from the traditional trappings of our industry and traditional ways of thinking and doing things, and it puts us on a different platform where we start to compare ourselves to other businesses that don't do architecture and interior design. So the long-term vision is to expand on that and to continue to grow the business the way we see it happening.
Awesome.
And influence, hopefully. Influence
Yes.
people around us.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the goal for the podcast
Yeah.
Yeah.
too.
Okay. So should I end with a fun one?
Yeah. Okay.
We end with a fun one? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So this is what I was thinking. So
Oh,
like
no.
you said, people are human,
I'm
right?
nervous
Yeah.
about
Oh, there's no need to be nervous. No.
Okay, okay,
This is, yeah.
You think
So-
you're nervous.
Yeah.
Okay, Rod. No. But the amount of designs you must have seen and done yourself through schooling and the years you've been at OneSpace and other companies before that. I mean, we heard it from you here firsthand. You must have seen or even done like crazy ideas, right? Like ideas where people thought that this was the best idea in the world, or ideas like just trying stuff out. So it's like, is there one or two that, and it doesn't have to be a bad one. It could be one that like you actually enjoyed but didn't work or whatever. Is there like one that sticks in your mind of like a crazy design or architecture idea for a building that sticks out in your mind?
I have a cool one after this. Not a question,
okay.
but an example.
Okay, example. Okay.
Okay, I have to say that when I think of the history of projects that have been designed, and in combination with my grade 13 or grade 12 guidance counselor, one of the the most fun projects we ever did was a competition in Dublin, Ireland for the U2 band, for the band U2. And
Cool.
they wanted to have this rental apartment building with an outdoor performance space. And it was on the site of, I believe, where their current studio is, or at least where they work up a lot of their tunes before they're recorded. I'm not sure which, but I took that site and I put their studio at the top of the building, and it was kind of precariously held up by these two massive walls, and the residential building was below it. And I thought, this is the ultimate way to defy gravity, but celebrate what it's become, I think, Ireland or Dublin's one of the greatest assets, apart from their beer and everything else. But to celebrate this cultural icon in such a way. And a couple of years ago, I was in Dublin, and I took it upon myself to see the site. And they never built anything there. But one of the nice parts about that competition for us was they did choose a local firm in Ireland. I think they were actually in Dublin. But out of all the international entries, they gave us a special acknowledgement
Cool.
for our entry, and I wish to this day that one had been built, because I would have
That's
been
so
able to
cool.
meet one of them.
I know,
Yeah,
yeah.
least
seriously,
one of
especially as a musician,
Yeah,
that would have
yeah.
been sweet.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I
that's
think that's
awesome.
probably one. I think one of the most challenging things I've ever had to do, other than that, is to design something for my own house.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because my wife as a client is very demanding,
Yeah.
and sometimes takes a little bit more convincing than it does somebody who's got an $85 million budget. So
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
that's true.
those are interesting because they're personal and they're
Right.
fun too.
I those answers both exceeded my expectations. That's fantastic.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that was great.
Well, we do have an employee, and correct me if I get any of the facts wrong. We have an employee who was a part of the team that not resurrected, but designed the CN Tower.
Yes.
So
very
that's
cool.
very cool. He's in our office. Hey.
Yes.
Little
Yes.
bit of history. We have a guy.
Yes, we have a guy. We have one of the best guys, actually.
Yes, yeah.
Denis Rioux.
Yeah.
I met Denis in 1982 on my first day at Page and Steel, and I actually called the office because I didn't know what to bring.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, are they gonna
First day,
supply
I
all
don't know.
all the stuff you have to draw with? I was
The
dumb. I
pens.
didn't know.
Architecture
so-
pens are the best.
So I didn't know. So I phoned the office. They said, hold on a second. They put me through to this guy, and he goes, hello. And I'm like, yeah, I'm starting a job there tomorrow. I don't know what to bring. He goes, just bring stuff to draw with. Click.
Yeah.
Okay. He and I had a fantastic relationship from that moment on. He was a huge influence in my life, and he was a mentor for me for many years. He's very strong on the construction side of things. And yes, in his youth, when he was early on in his career, he was a part of the architectural firm that designed the CN Tower. And he has the drawings. He still has the
does.
drawings.
That's
I've
very
seen
cool.
them. I've seen
Yeah,
them.
he
That's
has the
very cool.
drawing.
Rub it
There's a
in.
lot of concrete in that building, I'll tell
Is
you.
there?
It looks like it, to be honest.
So you
it
need
looks
a
like there's-
construction guy, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's the best. So
And Denis was he was my business partner here at onespace for quite some time. He's been retired for probably about 3 years now, although he comes to work every day.
He's
not
retired.
retired.
No,
Still comes around.
it's like I don't know what this is. I guess it's a hobby for him. But
Yeah.
he comes to work quite often, and he waters the plants and tells jokes and
That's great.
complains about things on occasion. But no, he's a fantastic guy.
That's awesome. Well, I think that's a fantastic place to end.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, Rod, thank you very much for taking some time out of your day to do this with us.
Sure.
And we had a really great time. And Justine, thank you as well. And thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
And this is the first of many, hopefully, coming up.
Yes, we will be chatting soon.
Yes,
We'll
exactly.
be chatting soon.
We'll
Yeah.
be chatting soon.
Next week's guest is Jennifer Aniston.
Okay.
And
That's
You know-
that's a fantastic surprise. I'd be more than happy to support that.
She
And
knows
if
a lot.
if she's listening now,
Yeah,
she's going to get really excited for episode 2 because if she's on, she'll be like very happy. Yeah.
totally. She knows
Right.
tons about
Right.
architecture.
Right. Okay. Okay.
But in all seriousness, that was really fun. Thank you guys. That was great.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks so
Thanks.
much. Bye, Ron.
Bye.